Thank you for being here again. If you're watching us, it's My Money with Patrina Dixon. If you're listening, The Money Exchange. However you're getting this content, this is going to be the show for you. I have a guest with me, Brian Bristol, but before I get him to start telling us who he is, let me remind you who I am. My name is Patrina Dixon. I am the It's My Money lady across all platforms. I am the one that teach the financial fundamentals. So you can make all this money, even the money that you may lend that you'll hear Brian's talk about, but you have to know how to make that money grow. You have to know how to secure it, make sure it's in right places, and earning money while you sleep. So that's what I do. And Brian is going to tell a little bit about himself. But if you're interested in working with me, you can drop down below in the show notes, or you can check out any other resources I have available for you. Now, today I have Brian Bristol. What's up, Brian?
Hey, Patrina, how you doing?
I'm well. So Brian is the founder and CEO of Pigeon. But before we get into Pigeon, just tell them a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so I'm Brian, 26-year-old founder. I grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina. I did the whole played sports, went to college, tried to go to Silicon Valley and be rich thing, but obviously, there's a lot of bumps in between those stories. So I'm now here, founder and CEO of Pigeon. I live in Miami. I've been growing this thing for about 3 years now. We've had a lot of success. We've raised millions of dollars in venture capital funds. We now exist across the world in 4 different countries, giving our product to about 20,000 users. And it's been an amazing journey, and I'm excited to talk about it today and just to have an amazing conversation.
Yeah, I love it. So I love how you so cavalierly say 26-year-old founder and CEO. And then in that short period of time, because I'm not going to tell you how old I am, you have done a lot. So you've touched on a few things. So because I'm a huge sports fan, I have to ask, which sport did you play?
So funny, I played football and basketball growing up, but I was terrible at both those sports. And then one day I ended up discovering this sport called lacrosse, and it was new to me. And I played lacrosse in high school, was good enough to play in college, and then I played internationally for the Jamaican national team because that's my heritage. So it was a journey, yeah.
That's what's up. Okay. So now folks are ready. They're ready to hear about this platform, and I can't wait for them to share. I heard Brian have this conversation with one of my financial BFFs, and I have to have him on the show to bring this information to the It's My Money community. So Pigeon, well, before we tell them what Pigeon is, tell me how you chose the name Pigeon.
So Pigeon it's a funny name. When I was coming up with the concept, to give people color on what the concept is, what we do is we simplify the loan process between friends and family. So it's super awkward, super uncomfortable. We've added technology, we've added structure, we've added education to it to make it a really 1, 2, 3 easy step for people. And what I was trying to think of was, how do I articulate this concept and this idea of moving money between communities and communities, relationships and relationships, and it still be fun and inviting and not scary. And when I was thinking about the concept as a whole, I was sitting listening to a podcast about history and different things in the world over time. And they were talking about how war camps used to move letters between one camp to another camp via carrier pigeons. And I was like, oh, that's super fascinating. You could send a bird to hundreds and thousands of miles away and it come back and move letters back and forth. And I was thinking that didn't happen too long ago. They probably still had paper money at that time. So when I was thinking about this concept of moving money between relationships and communities, I was like, oh, I guarantee you there was some bird at some point back then that moved money from one camp to another camp. And I think that's a pretty cool image in my head. So what I did was I went online, I got a stock image of a pigeon bird, and I put a dollar bill in its mouth. And I was like, oh, this is a weird logo. And I looked at it for the whole day. And my conclusion was, this is the ugliest logo I've ever seen. And I was like, oh, this is probably not it. But what's funny is I like to think out of the box a little bit. So the next day I kept thinking about it. I was like, this is so ugly. The day after that, I thought about it. It's so ugly. And after about 3 or 4 days, I was like, I'm thinking about this so much that this is probably the name for it. This is probably so sticky in other people's heads that we should probably name this company Pigeon. But at the time, what I did was I added the word loans to it. So our company name is Pigeon Loans and the product is named Pigeon. And that was to describe this concept of moving money between relationships, money between communities, and doing it in a fun and inviting way.
I love it. I love it. I was waiting to ask you that question because I was so curious about that when I heard about it. And I didn't know, what you had learned about the pigeon as you chose this name. So, all right, you've dropped in what Pigeon is about, right? And I have to ask this question. Did this concept come about because a lot of us that are in this space, we have our own personal experience? Like, did you have a personal experience with loaning someone money and maybe the pigeon didn't bring it back or slowly brought it back? Was that a personal experience and how you came up with this concept to help where I know this is something that happens within our community that people would love to hear more about how they could be on this platform to be able to pass money along and then get it back.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's just like you spoke on. This is something that happens quite frequently in minority communities, this like interpersonal loaning, money movement relationship that we all have. So during the pandemic, I actually was someone who had to loan a family member of mine money. Like everyone had lost their job, everyone was in dire straits, and we were all like, all right, where does the next paycheck come from? I was fortunate enough to still have my job as a software engineer. I was working at Intuit, which is based out of California.
Yeah.
And a family member of mine had come to me asking for some of money that I was just too uncomfortable just giving away. I was like, we've had this history in the past of never really paying me back. And I know things are tough out there, but like it may be tough for me soon too. So like, I'd love to give you this money, but at some point I would like it back. I'd like to give it to you. So I went online to try and figure out if there's an easy platform, an easy solution to just write up a quick note, have payment terms, and then have that be something I don't have to think about every day or every month, and it just reminded on its own. And it wasn't as easy as I thought it'd be to find a solution. People were like, create a spreadsheet, set reminders in your calendar, XYZ. And I was like, that's a lot of work just for me to help out someone.
Yeah.
So instead of like going that route, I knew I had a lot of time. Everyone was home watching Tiger King. No one was actually doing anything. So what I ended up doing is opening up my laptop and I started coding the solution that was Pigeon at the time. I created this like bare bones website, this app that allowed me and my family member to create a loan between each other, me to send them money and to have it remind them automatically, create a contract if needed, set up schedules, etc. And that ended up working. Like the people that I sent the money to did pay me back over time. And I was like, oh, this is super fascinating. Like this actually kind of worked. I didn't feel uncomfortable. So what I did was I put that initial product out on the social medias like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and I started to get a lot of positive like feedback from my own family and circle. And I was like, man, is this a problem bigger than like I actually think it is? Like it's a lot of people struggling with this. And I did some market research and I found out there's almost $200 billion moved every single year as loans between friends and family in this exact same fashion, struggling with all these problems, which is like unpaid debt, awkwardness, ruined relationships, uncomfortability, all that good stuff. So what I did was I said, hey, I'm young, I've got time, I'm still working my job, but let's take the risk and let's try and create a company out of this. What is the best way to solve a problem at scale? Right now, it's creating companies and providing that solution to thousands and millions of people across the world. So we've been doing that for about 2 years now. We've grown to be a company that raised about $3 million in capital last year from some of the best investors in the world, namely Y Combinator. We've moved about $3 or $4 million in loans between friends and family across 21,000 people. We exist in 40 different countries, but we've moved money in like 6 or 7. So it's been an amazing journey. We're a small team and we're still gunning to like reach higher levels of success. But we love what we do for the communities that we exist in, and we're excited to continue to do it.
I love it. And you hit some of the stuff I was going to ask you, and I want to make sure people heard this. You raised $3 million in capital. Like I saw that stat and I'm like, wow. So we're going to touch that in a little bit. And then you said, did I hear this correctly? 21,000 people are currently on the platform as of how long?
Like yesterday.
No, but I mean, that's in a 3-year span.
Yeah, so we launched officially September 2021. So
not 3 years yet.
Yeah, it's September 2020 or September 2021, one of those. So it's between two.
2 to 3 years. That's amazing. So, okay, wow. Now I want to go to a different place real quick. How did people know about it? So you said social media, LinkedIn, but how did people find it? Because people like you said what you did, which was really interesting to me. You went online to try to figure it out. Most people that family member to family member, they're not, I don't know at least, and I have been in the situation that you've described where let me see if there's another way that I can find a contractual way to do this. It's not the average next step the person takes. How did people find that this was available when they had that family member to family member, friend to friend situation when that ask came in for that money?
Yeah, so you're 100% correct. A lot of people aren't really searching for this.
Yeah.
Like over time, we've come to discover, oh, that's a little bit harder to find customers doing it that way. So when I first started, we didn't go through the search funnel. We didn't try and just do social media. What I wanted to do was like get it out there to as many people as possible, as cheap as possible.
Mm.
So it wasn't necessarily let's get everyone to use it and make money off of them. It was like, hey, here's this free product. Pigeon is now free medium, but we have this bare bones free product to start. We ran a bunch of digital ads on Facebook, on Google, and all these different things. We tried to create videos. We did explainers. We did cameos. We raised around from like friends and family via a community crowdfunding around on WeFunder. Like I just tried to throw it everywhere.
Yeah.
And whatever stuck, stuck. And whatever didn't stick, didn't stick. So the initial people who stuck, there's only like a handful of them, like 25 to 50 people. And they were like, all right, I'll try it. And at the time, the website would break anytime you click a button. Hey, try to click this loan. Oh, website's broken. But they stuck through with us at the beginning because they had a specific use case. They wanted to try it out. They liked the story and it was free. So with those people, then came people that they talked to.
Yeah.
What's happened over time is that has started to spread. When I first started the company, we weren't growing very fast. It took us like 4 or 5 months, I think, just to get 100 website visitors, which was annoying. But now we do, I think, 2,000 to 3,000 a day on website visitors.
Wow.
And that's a mixture of figuring out, hey, how do we scale via search engine? Some people do search for the product. How do we scale via digital ads, just getting our name out there? How do we scale via word of mouth? That's kind of our biggest funnel now. We're getting about 800, 900 signups a month just from people recommending our product to another. No marketing, no nothing. So
I'm going to add to that number. I'm letting you know.
Yeah, so those things we've been working on over time, and it's starting to snowball. The effect is starting to compound on itself, and we hope we continue to see kind of that S curve go up where it bends, and we still become like a big thing at the end of the day.
I love you are a big thing, not become you are a big thing. This is amazing because what I love, Brian, I'm really huge on because there's going to be what I call, some people call them problems, I call them opportunities, but the opportunities, you have to have solution creators, right? So what I love about this is you have created the solution to a lot of different things that you said, the anxiety, you want to help, but you also have to care about yourself. So if you help that family member, that friend, you don't want to put yourself in the bind. And you know this, right? You always think, okay, whatever I do loan, that's something that I may not get back. So I'm going to already write that off, if you will. But this gives the person a little bit more comfortability that it will likely come back. The person that's getting into, it sounds like, into the contractual arrangement feel they're more obligated versus just you handing them the money. So talk to me a little bit about that. So the process, what the process is, and then if you have any data on people that don't successfully get their money back. So if that makes sense.
Yeah, so I'll walk people through the platform kind of auditorially, where you come to the platform with someone that you know and trust. We don't match you, we don't give you money, stuff like that. You come to the platform with a colleague or a friend or a family member and say, hey, look, I either need to borrow money from you or I need to lend money to you. And what we do as an app is we set you up on both sides of the coin. We'll ask you to add bank account and financial information so that we can move the money for you. But then we also ask for the terms of the loan that you want. So say I wanted to send you $10,000 and I wanted that back in 2 or 3 years, and I wanted 3% interest rate. You put all that information in Pigeon and we'll structure that and formulate kind of the documents and schedule that you need to do. With that, there's also extra features. If you want to add a contract, you can do that. If you want to do an interest first payment schedule, you could do that. If you want to delay stuff, you could do that. So what we've done is created a system that can be fully customizable depending on your specific situation.
Mm-hmm.
Once that's created, it's all about management. People are like really wary of texting and calling and being like, hey, where's my money? Like,
You said you were going to pay on the first. I need that to pay mine. No.
Exactly. So what we've done is we've set up automatic payments. No one ever has to call or text anyone. And even if the automatic payments don't go through, there are buttons in the actual app that you can like click it and you'll send a friendly reminder instead of having to send the text or call. So management of the entire process is something we specialize in as well. We can set up auto payment schedules where it automatically withdraws from the borrower's account and goes over to the lender. We can set up ways for you to kind of download your contracts if you need it for like legal and accounting purposes, things like that. And over the course of that entire journey, you get to the end and it's our hope that it's paid off and everyone feels happy and supported through it. Now, like you said, it doesn't always happen. There are some scenarios where people don't pay back or there's lost kind of money in between and it's not fully paid back. And we provide people the resources to kind of get through that. Okay. So to give you some statistics, personal loans in general, if you get a personal loan from Bank of America or Goldman Sachs or Truist or something like that, their default rate hovers around 13 to 15%. Okay. For our platform, we've been doing this for about 2 to 3 years now, and our default rate is about 5 to 10%. Already kind of beating industry standard in terms of how many people actually default. But for those 5 to 10% that do default, we have a bunch of different end states. So what we do is we educate people. We tell you, here are the different options that you have. If, for example, you got a contract, a promissory note, and you downloaded that and you felt as though you didn't get fully paid, so actually didn't get paid, you could take that contract, at least in the United States, goes to a small claims court and try to seek your money back. You actually have legal avenues to do that. With that being said, not everyone wants to do that. So we have other options where it's like, hey, you get to the end of the loan, this person paid off 80% of their loan. Maybe they just need more time. So we allow them to extend it. We extend it up to a year, you add extra interest so that you feel a little bit more comfortable. And then they paid off over the next 6 to 7 months. Another option is people like to just kind of forgive it. Sometimes they're like, hey, it's okay. I wrote this off in my mind anyway. I'll generate a quick little note that says it's forgiven and you're good to go. And then the last kind of nuanced caveat is there are ways that we can actually teach people how to get around these things without actually having to go any of those routes. One of those is taxes. There's this cool fun fact that I like to tell people where if you lent someone money and they didn't pay you back the entirety of that loan, you can write that off on the fiscal year that loan was not repaid. So for example, you made $50,000, you lent 1,000 of those dollars. If those $1,000 never came back to you and you have proof that that loan term is over, you technically only made $49,000 that tax year. So the IRS actually has a form for this. It's called like unpaid debt forgiveness, something like that. And you can file that and get a tax refund on the money that you did not receive that year. So we teach people all these different things. We try to educate them throughout the platform, and it's up to the people to decide how they want to go about it. But we make sure that everyone's informed and feels supported.
I love it. I love it so much. And so what about minimums? Is there a minimum amount and maximum amount that a person that can go through your platform?
So there's no minimum. We've seen loans as small as $100, and we've seen as big as $250,000. I think is our biggest one. So our limits are more maximums. Our maximum loan that we allow on the platform is about $500,000. We never had to have anyone ask for it, but we're willing to support it if that comes about. We do a term duration of up to 7 years, which is 84 months. We allow interest rates up to 35%, and then the minimum tends to be 2%. However, there are specific laws per state. So one of the caveats we have to say is like, hey, if you make a loan in a specific state, make sure you look that up to know what your minimum interest rate should be, et cetera. Outside of that, your customization is fully up to you. We don't really tell you what you can and can't do. If you want the contract, you can create that. If you want to schedule, you can create that. If you want to move money via credit card or debit card or bank account or even off the app and just track it in Pigeon, we could do that too.
Okay.
So it's basically up to you and how you want to use the service, and we don't really create balance for you.
And so what I want to talk about, because I think I heard you say this in your other interview, is that several people are coming together to help fund small businesses through this platform, which is amazing. So I think when I think about this, I think about those people that do that. Do they become investors in this business, or is it, or are they, meaning, when I think of investing, I think you're investing in, maybe there's a portion of the company that you own, or they're strictly loaning them the money using your platform to give it to the small business owner?
It's been both. So we don't generate investment contracts. That's
Okay.
not necessarily our specialty.
Mm,
However, if you were offline and you said, hey, I'm gonna give you this $10,000. If you pay it back, great. If you don't, I own 1%. You guys can do that. And you can
okay.
do a transaction on Pigeon. So
Okay.
we've had people do kind of both, where it's like, I'll lend you some money just so you can help your business and I'll get back the interest, or I'll lend you some money and if you don't pay it back, I'll own part of the company.
Okay.
What we have is a bunch of groups. It's not our primary use case, but we do have groups of 2 or 3 or 6. Our biggest group, I think, is 12, where they've all gotten together and said, hey, I'll lend you $1,000. I'll lend you $2,000. You pay me back, and then you can have the money to create inventory for your company or to hire an employee or do something. So we have a lot of those scenarios, and it's just up to you guys to tell us how you want to structure it.
Okay, and you did say that, because, okay, I want to do this, I want to use the platform, but I don't know, like, do I need an agreement? I heard you say that there's an agreement, a boilerplate, I guess, if you will. That's a term I'll use. And if that's wrong, make sure you clarify that. That's in there that they can use to put the amount in the repayment terms. Is that true? Number one. And if somebody wanted to customize what they want in that document, is there opportunity for that?
Yeah, so we do have a boilerplate contract. It's just a general promissory note. It's optional, so it's not something you have to use. But if you do choose to use it, all we ask is for the terms of the loan, your address, and then obviously your name. And we put together a contract that we've been vetted with our own lawyers and lawyers across the United States that we believe can hold up in pretty much any small claims court in the United States. So that's something that you just get from us as a part of the product.
Okay.
Customizing the contract itself, we try to stay away from the transaction. So
Okay.
Pigeon is like the technology provider, like the underlying thing that allows you to do these things.
Mhm.
We try not to get too into the grains of customization of legal docs or like knowing your financial information, because then that gets hairy from a company standpoint, a liability standpoint. So if you wanted to create a custom contract, we have this feature where you can upload the custom contract.
Okay.
So you've done it offline, you signed it. Now you just want to store it with Pigeon, so you have it all in one nice, easy place. You could do that with us pretty easily.
Okay. And the one that you provide, Pigeon provides, the details are in there. Is there a electronic signature from both parties that happens within Pigeon?
Yep, correct. So we'll
Okay.
put you through a hello sign process. So
Okay.
you review
Perfect.
it all, you sign it, and then it's actually kind of vetted as a real signature that can stand in the court of law.
Yep. Okay, so now you've talked about this amazing platform where you allow money to be moved from, lender to person in need and back to the other. And how in the interest is how, one could make some money depending on the structure of the loan. How does Pigeon make money? So I read or heard somewhere where it's referral fees. So is that true? And what does that really mean? And then are there other ways that Pigeon also makes money?
Yeah, so we've switched business models quite a bit, and that's obviously like the journey of being a startup and
Yeah.
a company. So at one point we were doing referral fees, whereas essentially we had all this traffic coming in and we send you out to another partner and get paid for it. But that model wasn't too scalable for us.
Okay.
So we ended up abandoning that, and now it's back to just being Pigeon, the core product. We're fully free for a while, like I said, to get people on board, to get them interested, to get them to use it. But we've now switched to this freemium model. So Pigeon, if you just want to move like a quick $1,000 or a couple hundred and you want to get it back in a couple months, we're not going to charge you for that. Like it doesn't cost us anything to really set that up. It's like, hey, you can use the product for free and do that. But we have this tier called premium loans now, where if you're moving more than $10,000 and you're doing it more than 18 months and you're adding a custom contract and you're adding payment schedules, that's the point at which we'll start to charge you.
Okay, got it.
Charge you a small fee. So you could do it one of two ways. You can pay it $6 a month for the premium loan itself over the course of that term. So say you did a loan for 2 years, you're paying $6 a month for 2 years. Or you can pay $3 a month and pay all up front. So it'd be 3 times 24 and you pay that. For us, we don't care who pays it. It can be the lender or it can be a borrower. Whoever checks it out, they check it out. But it allows us to get the funds to actually manage a bigger loan that does have some kind of work on our end and allows you guys to get the contracts and to get the payment schedules and all that.
Got it. And do you find, because it sounds like you know your analytics really well, is there a certain type, is there a certain demographic that's more inclined to use this platform?
Yeah, so we like to not necessarily say demographic because
Okay.
at some point in time, anyone has asked for money from a friend or family member. Like across the socioeconomic scale, across the minority and racial scale, across the age scale, anyone's asked for money. So what we do bucket is reasons for why.
Okay.
So our number one reason we've seen about 30% of our loans is for businesses.
For
To either,
businesses.
so to either start a business, to cover inventory, to cover payroll, all those different things that you kind of have to have emergency cash for.
Yeah.
Can't usually go to a bank or institution and get that real quick. You tend to have to go to your friend or family member to help you cover that, especially small businesses. So that's our number one reason why people use us. The second one is for emergencies. To say like you had a leak in your roof or you've gone a flat tire and you just don't have the funds that time. People tend to go to their friends and family members, and then that tends to come over to Pigeon if they know about us. The third reason is kind of interesting. People have found a way to consolidate debt on Pigeon, which is so weird to me. Like they're behind on a loan from Bank of America, or they have a payday loan and they want to get out of the interest. Like they'll go to a friend or family member and be like, hey, look, I found this new tool. I think I can pay you back better over time. That way the payments are less and I'm not as stressed. They pay off the debt for their institution and they bring that over to Pigeon and they pay off the family member. So that's our third biggest reason. And those three kind of make up the majority of the volume coming through Pigeon. And what we do is try to support those.
Wow. So you were able to gather that data because the why is put into the lender. No, the person that needs the money is probably putting in the why, right?
So whoever sets up the loan. So
Okay.
the lender or the borrower can set it up.
Okay.
And those three questions were like, oh, what's the principal, duration, interest rate? The next question is, what's the reason? And then we allow for a description field where it's like, oh, please describe what this loan's about. And then we create some analytics off of that.
Okay. And then with that, so now you've gotten a lot of people on the platform and you've talked about how you've made that happen. Are you looking at using that data for more marketing strategy to the platform?
Yeah, so we're currently working on an idea in terms of using that data to create better distribution models. So marketing, we've tried in a traditional sense a lot. However, it's kind of hard to do marketing for this idea because one, it's like a new concept. Like we all do it, but we've never used a piece of technology to do it.
That's right.
So it's like a 1-2 step. I have to tell you about it and then I have to teach you about it. And if you drop off at either of those points, you don't become a user and it's hard for us. So we don't necessarily use the data for marketing. Instead, what we use it for is how do we create better channels of distribution? So we touched on this a little bit. We have the ASO guys where it's like our app exists in the iOS and the Android store. They do a lot of work to figure out what keywords are people searching, how do we get to the top of those keywords and then bring that in. So we get those keywords from what people are typing in the description field and their reasons. We do that for SEO as well, which is search engine optimization, Google search, Bing search, all that good stuff. We try to optimize there. And then we're doing a little bit of like, how do we create this product in different places and different flows? How do we give it to affiliates like you specialize in, and have them bring people that are more accustomed to this type of thought, more financially savvy? How do we go out there and actually touch people where they're actually doing these transactions?
Yeah.
So that's what we use that data for, to basically get closer to the like time of transaction in the funnel, and then
Yeah.
teach Pigeon once they get there.
I love it. I love it so much. Now, one last topic I want to touch before we wrap up, because I think I can talk to you for another hour, but I'm being mindful of our episode here. So you raise a lot of money for this, right? And I got to tell you, until I saw the interview with that you had with Sharita, I hadn't heard of it. So what do you when you talk about how you were able to raise the capital with it being, well, what I would call a little bit unknown, so don't take that in the wrong way. And
Sure.
then how do you continue, like do you need to continue based on where you are right now, and talk a little bit about how you do that? Because people are wondering, $3 million is a lot of money for, especially for one, like you said, a concept that people aren't really familiar with doing, or haven't done on a platform like this. And a little one on a topic that's a little bit apprehensive to do at all, but we know that we still do it. How did you get people to give you 3 million? The
Yeah.
combination of people.
Yeah. So it wasn't easy. I would
Mhm.
definitely say it wasn't something you wake up one day and you get $3 million in your bank account. I didn't come from a network of means, didn't come from a family of means, so we didn't have that advantage either. What I aimed to do with creating Pigeon was I wanted to be a venture capital backed business. So
Mm,
in technology, that basically means, hey, you have this idea, this concept, it requires a little bit of money to get off the ground, but once it gets to this kind of nexus point, it runs itself. Like you
mm,
software that's cheap, it brings in money, you pay that money back to the investors for their help and what they did for you prior. So that was the model I wanted to do. And it's not for everyone. You have small businesses that make their own money, restaurants, stuff like that. But for my model, I essentially created different parts of Pigeon to convince just enough to get a
mm.
small sum of money. So when I first started creating Pigeon, I talked to one of my very first investor about the concept, and I had said, "Hey, I created this cool thing. You don't know me at all. I just watch your YouTube channel. Can you give me some advice on like what you like about it and what you don't like?" We talked for like 45 minutes to an hour, and he was like, "Do you need money for this idea?" I was like, "I don't know. Do I need money for this idea?" And he was like, "I'm willing to give you $5,000 for this valuation." And I was like, "I don't even know what that means, but that sounds great."
I love it.
So he was the first introduction I had to kind of this venture capital model. So I took the $5,000, I just used it to like pay for some infrastructure to build the technology, and kept it going. But what I discovered is there are people out there who are willing to take bets on you if you show the promise and you show the plan and you show the creation of things. So then I started to create more of it. Like I told you, the website at the beginning never worked. Like you click a button, it would break. But I would make it work just enough to demo it to someone to be like, wouldn't this be cool if millions of people around the world are using this? Because we all know it's weird and uncomfortable. There's probably a better solution to it. And then you would get another yes. You get another $5,000. Now I got $10,000. So the next conversation I have, I show them the product, but then I also say, hey, we already have 2 investors. You don't want to be left out. You want to give us $10,000 too, don't you? And then they go, oh yeah, I kind of do. So now I got 10,000, I got 10,000, I got 20,000. So I kept snowballing that. But at one point or another, I did hit a breaking point where I was like, I've gotten all this money. I think it's like $300,000, and I've gotten all these investors, but I don't have enough economics in the business. I'm not
Mm,
making money from the business. People don't really trust that it's going to turn into a business. So what I needed to do was go back to the drawing board and figure out, are there communities or are there people who support companies like mine who are almost there but need just one more push to get over the hump? And that's when I applied to this program called Y Combinator. And Y Combinator is the world's biggest accelerator. What they've done is they've helped incubate companies like Coinbase, Airbnb, DoorDash, Instacart, pretty much any company that you know in Silicon Valley tech. they've touched Y Combinator at some point, shape, or form, and then they're big guys. So I applied to the program, super hard to get in. I think their batch last, which ended a couple weeks ago, has a 1.4 acceptance rate. And I basically got in and said, I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm going to try my hardest. I'm going to do this till it fails. I'm working my full-time job and I'm building this at the exact same time. You're not going to get any excuses from you. I know the problem that I'm trying to solve. I know how to solve it. I just need the capital, a little bit of tutelage, and we can keep it going. So I applied. I was fortunate enough to be accepted the first time I applied this program as an African-American male, which they have, I think it's like less than 2% of African-Americans per batch. It was a batch of 400 companies at the time, but 20,000 had applied. So you get the acceptance rate there. And it was something of kind of a defining moment for Pigeon. When we got that stamp of approval from Y Combinator, that took us off. That took it to the next level. So $300,000 I came into the accelerator with, they gave us another $300,000. And then at the end of the program, they gave us 200,000. So now we're at 800,000. Yeah. And then you get to this point, what's called demo day, where you're supposed to literally pitch your company, I think 60 seconds, 75 seconds, a room of 2,000 investors across the world on Zoom with 400 other companies that you're competing with. So I came to the stage and I just came prepared. I was like, look, this is our business. I'm confident in it. I think it can work. Here's our traction. Here's where I think we can go. And after that, I had 60, 70 investors knocking on my email door saying, hey, we'd like to invest. Wow. I ended up raising $3 million in 2 weeks after that.
Wow, I love, talk about getting your elevator pitch down and ready, right?
Yeah.
So listen, when you get asked about the company, I know you can spew that out because that's a preparation you had to have to get what you just talked about. So I already envision you on the Shark Tank carpet. Is that a goal of yours, or yeah, do you even need that now?
Shark Tank is a funny story. Like when we were first starting, they did invite us. They were like, hey. Oh. Yeah, they I think I can say that now. Yeah, I think I can say that. It's like, wait, I know I signed something. That was a couple
you
years.
Heard it here on the Money Exchange.
Yeah, so we got invited a few years ago, but we were too early. They were like, we don't know if you have enough money yet. You need just a little bit more. So they didn't bring us to like the LA auditions, but we did get to like all the rounds and stuff. Okay. But in between getting to that final round and then doing Y Combinator, we made too much progress. So now like a year later, we had raised $3 million. We had all these customers, we were doing stuff. They came back to the table and were like, hey, would you like to like reapply? And I was like, well, we can't. We like aged out of the Shark Tank process. So wow. It would have been cool to have been on TV and done the whole pitch thing, but God just had better plans for us in store. So that's kind of where we're at now.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, I'm a huge Shark Tank watcher. So as you were talking, and that's one of the things I love about the show too. And you're saying different things. I'm like, yep, Mark would have said that, and yep, Robert would have said that. So I love that about it. So I'm so proud of you. Like I am much older than you. I won't tell you my age, but when I see young people like yourself, and especially young men, and you tapped on that a little bit when you talked about the percentage of men that's in this program you mentioned. It's so refreshing. It makes my heart smile. When I saw you again on the interview with Sharita, I had to have you on the show. I'm like reaching out. I got to get him on the show. How do I get him on the show? So I thank you for responding to me in the way that you did. By the time I heard from her, we'd already connected. So I'm so happy to have you here, and I can't wait to share this story with everybody. Like this one, I'm like, okay, as soon as I'm done, I'm pointing over there because my other work is over there. As soon as I'm done, I got to get this out on YouTube because I want more people to know about it. I know there's a lot of people, and it's not that you know this, I know you know this because your business speaks to it, that people want to help those that are in need, but they don't want to do it to their detriment, right? And they want to feel like at least this process that you've described here, the platform, the technology, the boilerplate contract that's there, it makes them at least feel like it's official, if you will. And I think that helps both, because I think that even the person that needs the money when they need it, right? They're a little bit uncomfortable even in the ask, right? So I think that this helps both sides of both sides of it. I was going to say of the coin, but both sides of the situation that can be uncomfortable for both. So I love what you're doing. I'm so glad people have backed you in the way that they have. I can't wait to share it within my community as broadly as I can, because I know it's a problem, and I like that you've created the solution to help with a problem. And then in the fact that there isn't a cost to go on the platform, and I understand the way you've designed it from a premium perspective, but when you get to that level, then you can afford the premium. So it's not a hardship even going this route, which makes it make it better. So I appreciate you for doing that. And I wish you all the best. And I'll, again, like I said, I'll spread this as far as I can, and hope that, and encourage others to take a listen to it, to meet Mr. Brian Bristol, number one, because you're a phenomenal young man. And I just wish you the best. Are you still working right now, or are you
Yeah, so yeah, I have full-time Pigeon. Once we kind of got into Y Combinator, I quit my daytime
amazing?
job, and we do this thing full time. So there's I think 4 or 5 of us across the US, employees, that we all work on this idea day to day to make it better. It's been an amazing community of supporters over time, and we're hoping to continue to do this.
I love it. And then that's the other thing, right? Your story, and this is what my show is actually about, is bringing forth people so that others can see it's possible too, right? Some people that have, skill sets that you have, and others, sometimes just don't see their way. And I love how transparent you are with, oh, can it? And wait, 5,000? What would I do with it? What does that even mean? Like, people would think, oh, you had to have everything together before you were able to get the first dollar. And you just shared that was not the situation. But look at you now. I love it. It's just like a fairy tale story. I love it so much. So with that being said, anything that you want to leave as parting comments to those that may be listening that have aspirations just to start whatever their business is, or if they, and maybe also leave one that may have apprehensions or hesitations about the money loaning or asking.
Yeah, definitely. So in terms of business, just general, like I was talking to another friend yesterday, where I was like, you don't have to have the perfect solution. You just have to be good enough. Like, get something that's good enough to go out. The minute you look at it and you go, that might work, throw it out there and see what people say. The worst thing that could happen is people say, I don't like it. And then you ask them why, and then you fix it. And now you have an even better solution. So I think one of the big things that hold people back in business, or even just creating the thing that they want, is perfection. Like, you should put it out there and see what happens after that. In terms of loaning money between friends and family, like, we all do it. It's a weird concept. It's super awkward. And what we hope is that using Pigeon, or even at least coming to our website and learning about how to do it better, will help you in that journey. That way you feel a bit more comfortable. You shouldn't feel bad for trying to help out someone you know, someone you trust, a neighbor, a friend, a colleague, because those are things that we do and we shouldn't be ashamed of. So that's kind of my tidbit there. And for Pigeon as a whole, we hope to be around for years to come. You can find us online at usepigeon.io. That's our main website. If you want to find us in the app stores, we have iOS and Android app. You could just search Pigeon. I'm pretty sure we pop up in the top 3 or 5, so you'll see us. Cool logo I was talking about earlier in the show. And we're happy to answer any questions. Just send me an email and support. I actually answer support channels, so and walk you through everything and whatnot. So we're here to support people for a while, and we're excited about the things to come.
Absolutely. Thank you for being on the show. And all the links that he mentioned will be down in the show notes. So make sure you drop down and follow him wherever the links take you, as well as check out the website. Thanks again for being on The Money Exchange. And It's My Money with Patrina Dixon. And I appreciate you all for always tuning in, keeping it locked right here. Make sure that if you have not subscribed, you drop down and hit that red subscribe button, and whichever audio platform you listen on, make sure you're following. And if you enjoyed, leave us a comment and let us know what you think about the show, and share it with a friend.